Welcome to the Scottie and Sylvia show. We are best friends who keep our finger on the pulse of the culture. I'm Scottie Beam.
And I'm Sylvia Obell. And on this show, we talk about it all, from our favorite actors to our favorite affirmations.
From black joy to black drama.
And just a sprinkle of Caucasian chaos every now and again.
Welcome to the Scottie and Sylvia show, where we speak our minds like it's our full-time job and have so much fun doing it. I'm Scottie Beam, child, and if you cannot tell, these eyes are bloodshot red because I am on my 17,000th city, and I am tired, okay? Tired. And I must ask, who are you on the other line? Because I need you to say, I need who you are and where you are. Thank you.
Well, I'm Sylvia Obell, guys. You may or may not have heard of me. I co-host this show too. Best friends, allegedly. All these things. I am in Atlanta, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
I am in Atlanta, Georgia. I should be a Diamond Sky Miles member by now, but I am
My
still
mom
not.
Really
And
wants
I
you
am
to be.
Gonna run up to the Delta corporate office before I leave Atlanta to ask them.
Yes.
The thresholds are too high, because if I've had the October that I've had and I'm still not Diamond, it's crazy.
Right, and I just also want to point out here that Sylvia is also thinking about going to GHO. So, I just wanted to put that out because that's what the people were saying, Sylvia.
I would say, hey friend, how are you doing this week? But I think we got it. You are exhausted.
I'm
and
exhausted. But November is here, and I will not be
moving.
I am unmoved.
I'm not moving.
Okay, they're
if I go
planted
to homecoming or not,
to this apartment.
That's it.
That's it. I don't have nothing else in me. This
My
whole
mom
November is going to be dedicated to just sitting down and chilling the F out, because my eyes were red, Sylvia. This man asked me at the airport this morning and said, "Are you okay?" I said, "Do I look all right? I look okay?
Do I look all right?" Yes, guys, you heard correctly. Scottie did fly back from Atlanta this morning before we even recorded this podcast.
Yes.
That did happen. In Atlanta airport at that. You know how they get down.
Oh, my God. Hey. We need the mayor, next guest of Atlanta. I need to talk. I need to talk about some things. There's a few things to talk about in Atlanta right now, but let's talk about this first. That Jackson
airport
motherfucking airport, child. You mean to tell me TSA pre-check and clear together? I saw my friend Jasmine in the line.
She told me she saw you.
Why is there a line for TSA and clear? I'm looking at the TSA lady like, no. I'm TSA pre-check and clear.
And
she said,
like, yep.
And take your ass
to the back of the line, because everybody
to
else
the back
too.
of the line right here.
Scottie almost transformed into the CEO of Delta Airlines to be like, hey, we gotta raise the quotas.
Y'all making too much money.
Too many of y'all niggas got too much.
Raise the money.
Y'all got too much status. How is everybody in this line like me?
I got real elitist real quickly. I was upset.
A black person never gets more elitist than when you're trying to get through the airport.
Just trying to get out.
All y'all niggas got PSA pre. So
y'all, it was 5 a.m. in the morning. 5 a.m. There's a line. Where are y'all going? I wanted to ask everybody. They'd be like, "Bitch, where you going?"
Where you?
But I'm just saying, home. I'm trying to get home. Please. But there's been a lot that's been going on in Atlanta, child.
Talk about it, because it's been a hectic week, aside from Spellhouse Homecoming and One Music Fest.
Listen. And, yeah, Homecoming, Music Fest. Then you had the Georgia Tech stuff going on.
Yeah.
Then you had Keith Lee being the Deliver Us from Eva of the century. My girl, Keith Lee was in the restaurants restoring the faith of customer service. Okay? Because I was enamored by this whole story, by the way, because I love Keith Lee. I think he's very honest. I think he's doing what influencers should do, which is tell the truth and be honest about things that they try.
Yeah.
and not get so motivated by money or, what the restaurant can do for you. No, he just does this because he wants other people to know whether a restaurant is good or not, and how they and also how they treat you. Everybody knows Atlanta has 1,672 rules about restaurants.
Child.
And it's mostly the blacks that have all these restaurants. Y'all not open on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Only open till 2 p.m. on Tuesdays, and then got a half day on Sundays. I'm tired. So, Keith Lee is a TikTok influencer. He tries different foods. If you don't know Keith Lee, what the hell are you doing? Where are you? What do you got going on that you're not watching Keith Lee food reviews?
Or just spend the weekend with Scottie, because that's all it takes. I didn't know who Keith Lee was before this weekend, but I damn sure know who he is, because between every car ride, did you see what Keith Lee is up to now? It was like
he went to Old Lady Gang, Sylvia.
I know. You told me.
Gang.
You told me that dispatch at about 2 a.m. this morning. Every damn 2 hours. Now he's at this restaurant
because
this is happening.
It could be right. I just think it wouldn't be possible to change or somewhat just speak honestly about the things that are going on because they're just black businesses. And because they're black businesses, you're not supposed to speak about the bad things that are happening in black ass business. Yeah. I will speak about black ass business being bad.
That's
if it's bad, it's bad.
Me. Equality is we treat you the same way we treat these white businesses.
And I'm happy that he's doing this. I'm happy that it's become a topic of conversation. I am not okay with people talking about Keith Lee being autistic and all this other stuff when you don't even know if he has been diagnosed. You don't know anything.
I think it was the Milk and Honey restaurant manager. I think it was the manager, somebody who worked up in there. So I think what he was doing was sending his family ahead to see how they get seated, and then he would come in. But his family wasn't being treated right. They came and told him. And then the restaurant people saw Keith Lee and said, "Oh, no, we'll seat you, whatever." No. And he's like, "Nah.
Pulled out a seat. We're getting a chair. We're getting the table ready for you in 5 minutes." He said, "No, if these people can't eat, I don't want to eat." You understand? Like, why is it moving so slowly? So I really appreciated that he was opening that door so that it could at least be a discussion, because I feel like it's taboo to talk bad about black businesses. So I'm just happy that Keith Lee is doing it. I support him 100%. If he needs somebody to fund the money of going. And also, this how you know what Sylvia said is true. We are truly in unprecedented times, because why was the glowing with remarks about the restaurants, the biggest one was a Jamaican restaurant. Now, you know damn well, if the Jamaican restaurant is the only restaurant that Keith Lee is like, wow, amazing customer service. Wow, we are in unprecedented times. I hope the food was good, because I like my Jamaican woman really rude to me. I want them to suck their teeth as I ask for more oxtail gravy.
And that's how you know the oxtail gonna be banging. That's how you know that Rasta pasta is gonna hit. The worse the service, the better the food at them Caribbean restaurants. Like,
at the Jamaican restaurant. Anywhere else, no. But Jamaican restaurants, if they got an attitude, I like it. I'm down for it.
So here's my only question about Keith Lee. Does he only do Atlanta? Was this his first time?
No. So he goes to different cities. He goes to different cities. Yeah.
So he chose Atlanta this weekend.
Yeah, he chose Atlanta. But this has been the worst one. I think because people know how bad it is in Atlanta.
Atlanta, I just want to know, what have y'all been doing out here that got y'all restaurants acting like this? I don't understand, but this is the 2020 investigative special that we needed. Gail King got to sit down with Keith Lee next, because that's an interview that I would like to see. They should walk around restaurants trying out the food. I need a New York Times feature. I need it all, because she put me onto it, but now I think he's doing God's work, and let's all work to that black man.
Right. Let's all work on getting Sylvia to get on TikTok. Let's all, as a community, girls listening, let's bully her into TikTok. If we just bullying works. So let's just get her on there.
How many accounts must I have?
TikTok is just way more fun.
Tired. That's what y'all talking about.
know.
Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat and Facebook
And isn't it fun?
And MySpace and Black Planet and AIM. I am tired.
Only TikTok has shown me to get a scuff off of my heel. Okay?
TikTok also
So
is expensive because every time I see a video, it makes me want to buy something. It's just, it's crazy.
That's true.
But
that's true.
I'm sure y'all gonna make me cave eventually. When Twitter finally dies, I'll probably be on there way more actively.
Yeah.
But speaking of Gayle King and black men that she's interviewed, she sat down with Jay-Z to celebrate his Book of Hove exhibit at the Brooklyn Public Library. Have you seen the exhibit?
I have not. I had this October has been a whirlwind.
You're right.
I said I was going to try to go in November. Right. But in November, I'm definitely going to see it. I think, I don't know how long it goes until, I think, December. Hopefully not. Maybe
I don't know. I know they extended it, but I don't know to how long. But it looks amazing. I'm glad Gayle did this interview where they kind of walk through it, and he has it's like album covers, magazine covers, like photos from tours. Like, imagine your career being so extensive that you could have an exhibit at a public library. But he really did that. And then, Jay-Z doesn't really do many interviews. So it was interesting to see this pairing. As a journalist who is just begging more rappers to talk to black women, it was really refreshing to see him sit down with Gayle.
And not laying down with Bobby. Laying down with some mediocre white woman to answer weird fucking questions. Absolutely. Thank God.
I still haven't committed that white woman to memory. I almost said, who's Bobby?
Bobby, the white lady.
I know what you're talking about. The girl who's weird.
Lady.
Yeah. Sitting down and talking to an educated black woman, answering real questions. It was nice to see. And I feel like I got some really interesting things out of Jay-Z. I think there was because it was interesting to see Jay-Z the dad. I feel like he doesn't do as many interviews. Him and Beyonce are understandably very private about what goes on in their home life. So it was really cute to see a glimpse of him talking about how I think Gayle asked him if Blue thinks he's cool, and he was acting she be fronting on me. She be fronting on me now. But sometimes I see it. She'd be asking me if her sneakers are cool. Right. Or sometimes she'll watch people talking to me and I'll see it in her eye in the corner that she kind of thinks I'm cool, but she be fronting on me. And I think I'm like, oh my God, he's really a dad of a preteen.
Yes.
It's so crazy. Or how he talked about how he's thinking about cutting his hair back down to a Caesar, in which,
you know what that means? You know what that means? You know what that means? Two things.
I mean, I'm happy for multiple reasons. One, because I just would love, I like the low seasons with the deep waves.
Deep waves.
Go back and snatch up your Beyonce. Just give us, bring them back. Bring back low cuts, man. Men have been,
low cuts. Yeah, that's true.
I love a fade. I'm an East Coast girl. Bring them back.
Usually you cut your hair. He cuts his hair when
he's about to do an album.
He's about to release an album.
Yep.
So if we get just one more Jay-Z album, and I'm not pressured. I'm not pressed to get an album from Jay-Z. But if I do get one, I am over the moon. I am excited.
I love
it.
I love
about it.
I feel like he's kind of teasing it, because even when Gayle asked him so are you are you in making music? Are you retired now? He was like, well, I did that once and I can never do it again. I'm glad he got the message, because the way he made me mourn him for that Black album, Gen Z don't know. But let me tell y'all, he put us through it just to come back again. It was crazy, but...
Well, what he said, thankfully, Gayle asked the important questions for LLC Twitter, will you take the $500,000 or have dinner with Jay-Z? And Jay-Z himself, out the mouth of his own dinner, said, hey, take the money.
Take the money.
Everything that I've ever learned is on vinyl. It is on...
I have given
the track list. I have given all of it to you. So just take the $500,000 and buy the damn discography. At this point,
you could buy that and more. It's only gonna cost you about the early album's only gonna cost you about
$5. But I would love to learn more about what Jay-Z is learning, especially with being a dad, and especially through music. What exactly are you experimenting with now?
And I just want to share my final fun fact from that interview, because I just love the dad content. Blue, how she got her name. I thought it was somebody's favorite color. I thought it was somebody's favorite color. He said the rumors were true. Her name was supposed to be Brooklyn. Like, that was the intention. But that at the ultrasounds at the beginning, she was like a blueberry. And they used to call her like, oh, look at the little blueberry. Like, oh, the size of a blueberry. And then they said for the 9 months, they just kept calling it her Blueberry. And so then when she was born, they said, let's just drop the berry and call her Blue. And I thought that's way more like.
That was very cute.
I think that's so cute. I also think it's very free flowing of them. Like, they weren't so. I think it was like, oh, that's way less intentional than I thought, but it's also so cute and like whatever. So
yeah,
love that fact.
That was very
shout
cute.
out to Gail for getting that interview. I remember a time where hip hop and those kind of journalists were not getting along. So I'm happy. I'm happy to see.
Ciao.
And respect exchanged both ways.
Sorry. When you said both ways, I let out a cackle. All right.
Yes.
Next on the list. In sad news, actor Matthew Perry died.
Yes, he did over the weekend. So sad. For all the Black people who love Friends, our thoughts and prayers are with y'all, because it's hard to grow up in the 90s and not know who that cast was and what that show was. So definitely big news story.
Absolutely.
It's just very sad how he went out. He's been very open throughout his career about battling demons and substance abuse and all of those things. And so it's sad to see him go in his 50s. He was only in his 50s, so it's so young. First person of the Friends cast, and like that cast of that show is so like beloved.
And he was very funny. He has his dry humor. I really enjoyed it. Like, every time he would say something, I thought he was very funny. He would fit right in The Office. Like, that's why.
Which is the show that Scottie capes for. Yes, that is.
Okay.
I love The Office.
That's the white
too.
show.
It's a
that I refuse to let go.
But no, it's honestly, respectfully, like, condolences to the Perry family, and
sending love.
Yeah, it's sad to see. So it's also, it will have been over by the time this episode comes out, but tomorrow is Halloween.
Thank God. Jesus.
We are not Halloween girls, and we would like to give representation to the girls who just don't have strong feelings about it. Like, if you think I'm going to spend, like, y'all be spending so much money on something you are never going to wear again.
I will not name them, but I saved a few people that spent a lot of money on their Halloween costume. But whenever I go on a vacation, it's, how are you affording all these vacations? And the next time I get one, I'm going to find a picture of the money that you spent to get a makeup artist to do all that shit just for one photo. And I understand, it's fun. It sounds fun. I like to look at y'all do this. It's some like Megan Thee Stallion. She did the Hottie Ween. Everybody came dressed down to the socks. It looks great. But the effort it takes, guys, I don't know. Just for one day.
That's why I was glad that we had to work this weekend, because it gave me an excuse to miss all of the costume parties in LA, because I got invited to many and I had a valid reason of not going.
I mean, I love scary movies. I love Saw.
Hate them.
I heard Saw.
Hate them.
I heard Saw is really good, guys. If you want to check that out, when this comes out, go and check it out.
My version of a good time is The Blackening. Like, that's my kind of.
Oh yeah, that was cute.
Like, that was
really cute.
Or like, Halloween Town, something.
Yes.
Like a little
Halloween
Disney
Town
Channel,
is cute.
Like a little Hocus Pocus, perhaps. Like,
yes.
But that stuff where y'all be watching people get murdered for fun. When I say it out loud. When I say it out loud. I just want y'all to think about it when I said it out loud. Y'all be watching people get murdered for fun.
It's not for, it's just
for entertainment.
It's a thrill.
Watching people get murdered.
It's
one by one.
Yeah, that shit is crazy. It does sound a lot of nuts. But here I am watching people suffer with getting their limbs torn off, and I'm like, this is crazy.
Great, and I'm like, yeah. So but to each their own. I'm just glad it's gonna be over by the time it's up. But just know that when you hear this episode, it's us being glad it's over. But to the people who make it fun and funny, Diddy's great. Diddy always, like, him dancing as that clown or him with that wig. He always makes it funny. And I would like to give a special shout out to the only person who made me laugh so far this Halloween, Raven Verona.
Oh,
because did you
my
see
God.
her at Adele? She shoots Adele's Vegas shows, and the girl had the Scream mask on, like that scary white with a
Do you know
hood,
how hard
looking
I
like the
laughed?
Master of Death, and she's shooting Adele's concert. So in the background of everybody, in the background of
It's just this
everybody's
ghost
it's just this-
mask. I'm like, why would you do that?
to work.
Why? Why would you do that? I forgot to ask her about that. Raven, please.
That was funny. That was funny to me. So that was that. But everybody else, let's wrap it up after tomorrow. Okay. But I will take
Yes,
some of y'all
please.
candy though. We'll do that.
Oh, definitely. We'll be walking the apartment hallways to see if anybody left any outside. Because I will be getting some. Also, shout out to the candy that's left over from after Halloween because they're going to be on discount at Walgreens. So thank you so much.
Oh, look at you.
Oh, yeah. That's how I go and get my candy. Uh-huh. Yep. And my stocking stuffers.
But did you feel this way your whole life? Like as a kid, did you enjoy Halloween though? You
Yeah, I loved
participate?
doing Halloween as a kid. That was fun, you know. I didn't have any responsibility of just paying and also trying to figure out what I wanted to be for real. You know, it was the same thing every year. It was Nala, okay? I wanted to be Nala.
Oh, you wore
every
the same costume
year.
every year?
I wore Nala probably strong
I'm screaming.
4 years. And then I broke from that and then did something else, you know, Jasmine and the other ones. But Nala was the girl for me.
Nala was the girl. As a
Yes.
kid, I enjoyed dressing up. I remember like really being into like I'm gonna be a sock hop girl, or I'm gonna be like a hippie, or I'm gonna be like a Disney princess, or like a pumpkin, or like that's like really as a baby, stuff like that. But as a teenager, I kind of got off of it, but we still wanted the candy. Me and my friends used to take my sister and we just try to get some candy, and they look at us like we were the parents. And I'm like, no, I too am a minor. Give me my Kit Kat. And it's like I hate the quiz. So what are you for Halloween? Does it,
Right.
is it a quiz? If I'm not
Girl, if you don't give me no candy,
I am
be
self-respect. Hand me my candy.
Hello, right.
Like, something like that.
I am
But
blessed.
I am blessed. And speaking of blessed, it is in theme with this week's show a little bit, guys, because guess who we have on the show for y'all this week? Y'all ready? Sarah Jakes Roberts, the co-pastor of the Potter's House LA. She is someone whose sermons we absolutely love. Like, we love her preaching style. You may or may not have heard of her father. He's a little famous. His name is T.D. Jakes. And she has been following in his legacy and building her own path and blazing her own trail.
And we've been wanting to have this conversation for a minute, like to really get what it means to be a person of faith today is definitely a conversation that's worth having, especially during this time, right now.
These unprecedented times.
Okay?
Everything feels like it's in chaos.
Chaos. So we talked to Sarah about all this and more, and I hope you love it. Let's get into it. Sarah, we are so happy to have you on the show. Oh my gosh, to have her on here.
I don't think you understand.
It's crazy.
I don't think you understand, Sarah.
I have the tissues on deck.
No, we're not
Ready to
crying,
go.
are we?
I will cry immediately.
Okay, all right.
No,
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. Let's go.
Yeah, no, we are so happy to have you on the show. The first question we always like to ask our guests is, how is your heart right now? Like, how are you feeling?
My heart is really full. I have had a tremendous year. My body is tired and my mind is exhausted, but my heart is really in a space of gratitude and reflection and joy. So it's been a hectic year, but it's been one that's been really rewarding for me as well.
I love to hear that. Listen, I will say you changed the trajectory of my healing process this year. Absolutely. I'm not big on watching sermons before you, but when I went through what I went through this year, I decided that I was going to heal differently. And so with that, I always seen clips of my favorite sermon in the world, which is Girl Get Up.
Oh my.
I've always seen clips. TikTok, Instagram, and I love the clips, but I guess I haven't been going through enough to really sit down and tune in and really watch. So when I turned it on and I was walking down the street, going through it, child, walking down the street, I stopped in the middle of the street. I want to know, what's your most recent girl get up for yourself? Because I know that you have to continue to keep, reminding yourself to get up.
Honey,
Yeah.
weebles, wobbles, but they don't fall down. But that when you in the wobbling stage. My most recent one was probably in planning our conference this year for Woman Evolve. Mm-hmm. So in 2021, we had 3,000 people, which for someone who never anticipated being in ministry, I'm not like this person who's like constantly feeling entitled to more and more and more. Like I can be very content with what I have. And so for 3,000 people for me, I'm like, this is a big room. These are a lot of people. Still, my father and I had this passing of the baton moment in 2022, and within like a week, 10,000 people registered for the 2023 Woman Evolve. We are in May of 2023, and there are 30,000 people registered. What was costing thousands of dollars now cost millions. Yes. And when we were planning for the conference, I didn't think that it was going to become a thing. So I set registration prices thinking that we would have it similar to how we've had it in the past. And so we didn't have the money to cover conference. And I was just in this space where I'm like, this is why you have no business doing it. Like, you're in over your head. You don't know what you're doing. You know, the production budget's almost $3 million. And like, I'm like, $3 million? Like, you're never getting $3 million from me. Like, I don't have it. Yeah. And I was like,
listen, relatable, yeah.
I called my business manager. I'm like, I need a life insurance policy, because now I'm afraid, like, if I die, like, I've put deposits down on buildings, and like, my family's not going to be able to reimburse these people. Now I'm like watching cars. You talking about walking in the street and seeing cars coming? You've never seen someone looking both ways the way I was looking both ways. But I just felt a deep sense of inadequacy, of just like, this is why girls like you don't do stuff like this, because you're not smart enough to get it done. And I definitely had a girl get up moment when someone tagged me that they were like bringing their mom. They had just found out they had cancer, and they just knew there was something in the room for them. And I told my husband, I'm like, if we have to take a second mortgage out on the house, if we have to liquidate some of our retirement stuff, like whatever it takes, I gotta make sure that this room can happen. And when I tell you, we got like 4 or 5 last minute sponsors, like literally 4 or 5 weeks before conference, we got these last minute multi-million-dollar sponsors. And it was just like, I got you. You just got to keep showing up. So that was probably my most recent girl get up moment. Now, right now, I'll tell you, I'm more in my like girl lay down season, because like I pushed it.
Love that.
To the limit. And you got to know when it's get up time, and you got to know when it's sit down time. Yeah, I'm definitely in the sit down season.
Part 2 coming soon.
Girl sat down.
No, I love that you talked about the passing of the baton moment, because when I tell you, watching that video, it seemed like you were as surprised as all of us in that moment that it was happening. It was like, you know, when your parents don't warn you about something, it was given that, fam. Like, everybody can relate.
It was so raggedy.
It's like, what her parents doing to her. But it's like, I can't imagine, like to you're saying about feeling like you're being handed this huge baton, like this huge legacy, but also like the fact that your parents are trusting you with it. Right. And like that, like, and how that must feel. You talked about the pressure, but when it comes to battling the imposter syndrome or feeling ready, or maybe the idea that you never are ready, you just got to do it. Like, what do you have to say to people about like when that baton gets handed, whatever it may be for folks, when you didn't like when God knew it was your time before you knew it was your time, which is often, I feel like.
Okay. I struggle with imposter syndrome, and I probably should study it a little bit more, because I'm not exactly sure that what I experience is imposter syndrome, because I don't necessarily feel like I am pretending to be someone else, I just feel like, I don't know, and this is probably what makes it imposter syndrome. I have not connected fully like that this is my life. Only because I was in such a deep, dark place that it's hard for me to embrace that this is my life. So I will tell you, as it relates to passing the baton, whatever that looks like, and I think we're in an intergenerational shift right now in general. So whether you're in corporate spaces, you're in the entertainment industry, we're seeing the emerging of new voices, new ways of doing things. And there can be some trepidation when what was says you are next, and the pressure that can come with that. I struggled with it only because I did not know when all of these people registered for conference, I assumed that they were registering for what they thought would be the next Woman Thou Art Loose. In expression, Woman Thou Art Loose and Woman Evolve are pretty different. Like, I am not like the churchiest, like we're going to shout kind of person, and Woman Thou Art Loose is going to give you a praise break, like we going to bust the rose up going forth, and like that's not my default setting. And so I was a little concerned that they were signed up for something that they were going to be disappointed by, and that I couldn't bring to them whatever it is my dad gave them. And so I struggled with that probably for about 6 or 7 months until I was preaching at my father's church. And my wig started slipping, and I took it off.
Girl, I
off.
watched that live, and when I say I was on the edge of my
that
seat.
was as viral as it went for everyone else. I was at this stage where my husband wasn't there, my parents weren't there that Sunday. This was my first Sunday, kind of top to bottom, being the leadership in charge of that service. And I was nervous. My wig starts slipping, I take it off, and this moment goes viral. Like, everyone's on the internet. Like, we know that this is the kind of stuff that like people only laugh at. And while there were definitely some videos of people making fun, overwhelmingly people were like, when you took that wig off, it was like shame came out of my body. It was like all of the depression came out of my body. Like, I felt like I no longer had to pretend. And it was a message for me from God that basically said, if you will just be authentic, like, I'm not asking you to be TD Jakes, I'm not asking you to be Woman Thou Art Loose, I am just asking you to be you, and I will take you with a wig cap on, with 100,000 people watching online, and it going viral all over the world, and I will still put my glory on it. I will use the most foolish, crazy moment, and I'm going to put my wind on it, and I'm going to use it for my glory. And so I will say, if you are receiving a baton of any kind, to trust the authenticity that led you to be in position in the first place. And if you can protect that authenticity, if you can protect that creativity, that mindset, that innovation, if you can trust that, that's what puts you in position. Still, of course, open yourself up for wisdom, but I'm really protective over my authenticity. And if you do that, God will continue to give you downloads. You will continue to create space where there was no space, and you will be a teacher to generations that came before you, and something that generations coming up can aspire to.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That really goes with the next thing that I want to talk about, because your authenticity is able to reach different generations, because my mom and I, like, we connect through your sermons. I put my mom on, and I was like, girl, you gotta listen to this. But please talk to us about realizing, though, that authenticity and also you being yourself and it being just enough. Yeah. You being just enough will touch different generations.
I mean, I'm going to speak about Black women in church. Black women in church have been the backbone of faith communities. Baby. They would not exist without Black women. And yet Black women were not allowed to stand in the pulpit. The pastor could be sleeping with a Black woman. He kept the church. The Black woman had to leave or sit in the back. Like, we are raising the children. We're cooking the fish dinners in the back, and yet you can't preach and you can't take a text. And so I think that in an effort to serve God and to serve well and to maintain what was sacred in their faith, that Black women shrunk in order to still experience community and connection in spaces that weren't always honoring of them. And so I think when you see something like Woman Thou Art Loose, and then you see Woman Evolve, which is not just a man opening the door for a woman to say you're loose, but now a woman saying, I'm going to take this position and I'm going to take it further, and I'm going to give expression in a way that only a woman can understand. My father says all the time, there's stuff we do at Woman Evolve that he wouldn't even think of doing because I'm a woman, and I know how to put together things that create safe spaces for women to be vulnerable. And so that's why that authenticity is so important, because you never know whose authenticity you're unlocking. And when I first started sharing my story about being a teen mom, which I thought I was going to tell my story and they would like tell me to go sit down and be quiet somewhere, because there was so much like attention and exposure coming my way that I kind of told my story thinking it would sabotage the attention and people would leave me alone, to be honest. And I told them and they were like, oh my gosh, that happened to me too. There were women literally 70 years old saying, when you told your story, you told my story too, and I've never been able to tell anyone, because in spaces of faith where we were supposed to be taking care of them, where we were supposed to be restoring their honor and restoring their value, we told them, you have no more honor, you have no more value, be quiet and sit down. And I got to be this voice before God took her to her next stage of life that said, girl, you can still get up, and girl, you can still dream, and girl, you can still be worthy, and you can still be considered innocent and pure and fabulous and amazing and divorced and have worked at the strip club and have done all of these things. Like, you don't have to be defined by these moments. And so I think that we were at a stage where women really needed to not just hear liberation, but maybe see an expression of it. I don't think I'm the end all be all, but I think I do get to serve as an expression, and I take that seriously.
I think when I think about even my personal faith, like, so much of it was built in the tough times. Like, even me going to church, my preteen, teen years, I started going because I think, like, it kind of became a refuge. And I think that I kind of felt like it was like a moment where it was like, God, I need somebody bigger than us, everybody in this house, to help us get through what we're going through. And I think that every time I find myself on my knees like that, whether it's like college stuff or trying to figure out adulting or being broke and trying to like do your dreams, or like having my heart broken and, you know, thinking it's the one of your life not going the way it's going to go, like, those are the moments where I find that my faith, like, I feel like I turn to it the most, but also when I feel like it's also, I turn to it because I know those are the moments where I'm like, it's easiest for me to just maybe turn away from it. So I think part of me is like turning towards it so I don't turn away from it, but also because it's just, it all feels bigger than me. And I'm like, that's when I feel the most out of control is when I'm looking for somebody to help me be in control. And I think, you know, on this podcast, we talk a lot about living through unprecedented times. Like, we joke as millennials, we have lived through so many unprecedented times. Like, if we could just get some precedented times, Lord.
So
like if you could just run us one of those precedented years, it would be so fabulous. But like, how, like, do we keep the faith in God's plan when so much suffering is going on? That's the conversation I find myself having with so many friends.
Because it's so easy to think that God forgot about you whenever you go through some really tough times.
You know, I think about in Genesis, like, God had only a few rules for man and woman, and one of them was, do not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which says to me that, like, in God's infinite plan, like, he had no desire for us to have the knowledge of good and evil. And, you know, they ate from this tree, and now we are living with the knowledge of good and evil. And I'm constantly reminding myself that good has a source and evil has a source, right? Like, I can't just say that all of these good things are happening in my life because God is making a way and he's got a plan and the plan is coming through without acknowledging that there is another plan. And so because those plans are in competition, I think properly assigning what's happening in our life to the right source is part of it. Because a lot of times God gets the rap for the good things and the bad things. And my personal philosophy, you know me, like, I don't stuff anything down anyone's throat. It's like, God is good. Like, I believe in the goodness of God. I believe that the systems and strategies that God put in the earth are worthy. I mean, the sun is still rising, the ocean is still in motion. Like, when God puts something together, it works and it functions unless it is sabotaged. Our existence has been sabotaged. And so now I have to do the hard work of parsing out who came from what and what did what, but also responding to the role that I can play in being a part of God's goodness. because suffering needs competition and evil needs competition. And if we are rendered so fearful that we are not able to be the goodness we want to see, then we are not paving a way for more goodness to emerge. And so I really do believe that a part of all of our existence and purpose, everyone's like, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? I want to write books. I want to do this. And I think we've made purpose materialistic when purpose is about existence. My purpose is to make sure that goodness invades the earth, even in the most darkest seasons. And so, you know, more than my thoughts and prayers are with you, like, how are we treating the cashiers? How are we treating people on social media? How can I do my part to say, you know what, I'm going to hold my corner down. I wish I could do something about what's happening in the Middle East. I wish I could fix it. I'm not going to lie. If I could, it would be fixed. But I can do something about this corner I'm on in Dallas. And I think that if we can all take ownership and we see the ownership when someone else does something good, it allows us to experience hope. I wrote this book, All Hope Is Found, because a lot of times when we are feeling so stagnant or stifled by fear, we're just waiting on something to come and bring us hope. But hope is an active experience. Yeah. And so I got to go looking for hope by becoming hope and acknowledging hope when it comes into my door. Oh, God, I was there on time. Oh, God, the internet worked for this interview. Like, those little things are little moments of hope that I cling on to, because when they go down, I'm like, the devil is busy. But what about them little moments when I was like, I'm going to let your internet work for this interview. I got to hang on to these little moments of, like, God's going ahead of me and working things out.
I love that you put it as hidden faith. I mean, hidden hope.
Yeah.
So when I was thinking about that and having to explore, you know, your experiences in living life in order to find those pieces of hope that can keep you together and I guess give you unwavering faith, because I've been trying to learn unwavering faith, because it don't quite. It be wavering. It be wavering just a little bit. Yeah. It's just so hard to figure out the faith and keeping it whenever something is heavy on your spirit. But why is it so easy to go down that rabbit hole of just letting go of faith? Like, sometimes I feel like that's the first to go.
Oh, child, I can tell you. So my son is 21 now, and a couple years ago, he was going through something. He was like, you know, I'm supposed to be letting him be an adult, but I'm used to him being my kid. And so I'm trying to assume this position like, okay, you're 18, you're an adult, you can do what you want, but really you need to do what I told you to do. And he would not do what I told him to do. And it was terrible. But I had to really pray, because I had to trust God with him in a way I've never had to trust God with him before. And I think we lose faith when we are in uncharted territory, because I'm having to trust God in a way I've never had to trust God before. Like, I've never had to trust you to help me close a deal of this size before. I trusted you to help me pay rent, but that was different. It was rent. Like, this is a deal that could be life-changing. And what if you don't show up? What if you aren't consistent here the way you were consistent there? Yeah. And I think that for especially us who are kind of like walking our faith out and we really want to be in relationship and not just be religious, it's no different than when you're friends with someone or you're in a romantic relationship with someone. And it's like, I've never had to trust you when I'm going through a medical procedure. Like, will you wipe my butt? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've never had to trust you like this. And so I think you can acknowledge that this is a new area of faith for me. I am going to lean into trusting you, and I'm going to tell you when I'm afraid, and I'm going to trust that they can exist at the same time. Like, I don't have to be a praying grandmother when I'm an infant in this place. Yes. And I'm okay with that. Carry me, hold me, send me a sign. I need a pacifier. I am a baby. What I am doing,
girl. Praise out if you must, please. Like, I don't know, but I love that you talk about how they can exist at the same time, because I think so many people feel the shame of like these bad feelings towards life and God, and feel like they have to turn away from it because they feel like, oh, I'm angry. I can't be angry at God, when like it's like God is the one who can handle your anger.
My greatest desire is to demystify what it means to be in relationship with Jesus. Like, there were plenty of times where the disciples were like, you told me to do something, I couldn't do it. Why not? Or I'm afraid. What was that? Mary received, I'm going to get pregnant by the Holy Spirit, and she's afraid. What manner of response is this that you would call me favored? Like, we see all throughout Scripture where humans were like side-eyeing God. Like, I don't know about it. Like, are you sure? Get somebody else to do it. And God's like, no, I'm going to continue to be faithful. Sometimes all I have is my obedience. Sometimes I don't have my faith fully. Sometimes it literally is a mustard seed. Sometimes I don't have hope. All I have is my obedience. Like, I'm going to do it. And then God gets to side-eye us in those moments of victory. Like, now you remember, you up there talking about it was just you and your team, but you remember that you barely made it across the finish line. Right. And that's how we get to be in relationship with him. It's like, if I could trust you with that, the same God who did it then will do it then. That's how we build that reservoir.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm trying to build, I guess, my relationship back with the church. I went to church as a young kid, but I think when I got older,
that's fair. That's fair.
You know, when things happen. But also, I think I find that church, you are supposed to be your most vulnerable. Yeah. And I think at one point, some person said some really mean things to me in the church. And I think after that, I was like, maybe I'm not supposed to be here. Yeah. You know, maybe I'm supposed to receive the word in other ways. Mm-hmm. So I let that, you know, keep me away from the church for almost probably like 7 years, 8 years. I know. But
I'm not judging.
Yeah, I know. But it's just, you know, even with saying it, sometimes you feel it's like, hard. You know, especially coming from the background like of going to church all the time and then just not going at all. But for people who are trying to find their way back to church or just trying to find spiritual practice that speaks to them, what advice do you have for me and those people? Because it's me and them, us.
Well, I think I would start by asking, why do you want to make your way back to church? Because there is a difference between I want to really exercise my faith. I want to, in my case, learn more about Jesus. Like, I want to learn more about the history of colonialism and how did faith happen. Like, I want to dissect this white man's religion thing. How could something so once important to me now have this, you know, legitimate critique about it? And so I want to go on this journey for myself versus like, I want to go back to church. Because for me, church is a space where my relationship with God is confirmed, stretched, and where I also get to be surrounded by people who at least have one thing in common, and that is that we are here to have our faith stretched, confirmed, reaffirmed, validated. I'm not necessarily here to make friends. I'm not necessarily here to meet my next therapist. I may need to go in, sit in the back, and leave just so that I can be in the environment, because there is something powerful about, like, I can't lift my hands in worship, but when I'm in a space and someone else is doing that spiritual lifting for me, I can feel relief from my own pain, my own depression. So there is something beautiful about being engaged in community, but really having the proper standard for what that community experience is supposed to be can be very helpful. Church should not be your sole place where you encounter God. And so if you can learn to create environments of worship at home, create sacred spaces of meditation and prayer for yourself, by yourself, you'll be protective of that when you go into a church space, but it won't be a wall. It'll be like a gate where like what's for you can get through, and what's too big or too hard or too evil or too raggedy, right? Like can't get through. And too so raggedy. I think being really intentional, and I do mean raggedy, because sometimes, I mean, we got it. Pastors are not always qualified to walk you through every single thing that's happened to you. They are not qualified always to tell you how you should be living your life or what should be happening in your world. But what they can do is help convict you in an area that God has already highlighted, where you can go back into your relationship with God and wrestle with this. Like, what does obedience look like? What does my response look like? But this should not be the place where I am telling you every single detail about your life, because I don't know every detail about your life. But if I can get you to a space where your heart is more open to God, where you are being confirmed in something that you've already pursued, then maybe, just maybe, I've gotten you one step closer to who you're supposed to be in God. But I don't want to be the final say over your destiny and over your life and over your joy and your heartbreak. I just want to be another voice that God uses along the way.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it has to do, I think at that moment when I decided to just leave church, I should have just looked for another one.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard to do that, but I think that's where I probably made the mistake. I didn't blame God at all for it. I just knew that, some people are just not nice.
You know what's funny? I have found that a lot of people who have left Black churches because, for whatever reason, like they have found community in white spaces, and then white spaces start getting on their nerves a little bit too, and then you find like a little mix.
Yeah.
But I think that we have different expressions of God too. I try to work on this even in my own messaging, because I think faith has come down to when we're struggling, when we're going through hard seasons, when we see the role that faith played even throughout slavery. Like, it has become a space where when you need to fight, when you need to wrestle, like I pull from my faith. And, sometimes in white spaces, like it really is about just like going out and being a good person and just like trusting God and knowing that He's for you and being the light of the world. And
but they choir is trash.
Yeah, you're gonna have to listen. You got to listen before you.
But that's why I feel like the mixture.
That's because there's so much struggle on our vocal cords that we gotta dig down in there and give you something to work with.
That generational pain just be coming down to the diaphragm.
Right. I want to I'm entering into my light worship era where I just have a hippie praise.
A little hippie. I also was screaming that the way when you talked about the white churches, you hit that little tone and then you beat it.
Did you see that?
Yes, I saw you switch and I was like, LOL. But I think, to your point about like finding the hybrid churches, I've attended One Church LA more than a few times since I've moved to Los Angeles, and I do think like churches like that feel like a hybrid where it's like you can wear what you want to wear. The deaconess ain't like, ugh, girl, or whatever, but also like the choir is the choir. But it's like the pastor is giving like a more of like a whatever statement. So it feels a little bit like a mix. What can become viewed as messiness of religion makes people feel more comfortable being like, listen, I believe in God. Like, I know clearly it's hard to, it exists. I believe that. But in my conversations, and I do identify as a Christian, but I find that when the older I get, the more I speak to people, it's hard for people to really get with now the Jesus of it all. And it may be because they feel like how important are denominations. Like me and Scottie both were in the choir, in the Bible study, in the praise dancing. But it's like, as an adult, it's like, how do you explain the importance of the Jesus of it all when religion has gotten so colluded?
That is my assignment. That is my assignment in the earth. And I taught a lesson a couple weeks ago called Own Your Lesson. And I ultimately talked about like the life of Jesus is the mark. And by the life of Jesus, I mean his spirit in the earth, the way that he engaged with people, the way that he communicated. Like, this is the mark for humanity. And I think that religion has been about control. There's no denying that. It's unfortunately, it's played a role in the abuse of a lot of people, and there's no denying that. So like, as a pastor, as someone who considers this my assignment in the earth, I will never gaslight somebody's church experience, because I got pregnant at 13. Like, they were sending me blankets telling me my baby was going to die because I had sex outside of marriage. So like, I recognize fully how harmful it can be to be a person in a space where you're supposed to be vulnerable and to be damaged or wounded. My suggestion is this: if you can really embark on a journey of just studying the life of Jesus, just like study the life of Jesus, or get plugged into someone who's teaching it. And if you hear a message you like, then opening your own Bible, right? Because you don't rely on someone else to be your only source. But maybe they say something that strikes you about something Jesus said, and then you get in your Bible, you can get the Message version. The Message version is the closest to the Ebonics version as possible, but get the Message version, and then ask yourself, like, what does this show me about his character? What does it show me about his spirit? What does it show me about who he was in the earth? And what does it show me in comparison to how I show up? And do I feel kindred to this at all? Does this feel like something that I aspire to be in the earth? I think that is the part where, like, we teach a lot of rules, but we don't teach a lot about the life of Jesus. And the life of Jesus is so impactful and so inspirational and so powerful that there's an opportunity for us to be in relationship with Jesus where he's like, listen, you can't do all the heavy lifting, but if you would partner with me, you accept me as your savior, as in saying that I am the mark. There's no way I'm gonna make it through this troublesome world. He was in a troublesome time unless I link up with someone who's thinking the way that you're thinking. Let this mind that was in Christ also be in you. Like, this is my goal, and this is now how I choose to see the world. It does change our relationship with the text and our relationship with pastors in the church, because now I'm just here to see if you know something about Jesus that I haven't discovered yet, or something that I'm just learning and you can help me unpack it. Now, I know that was maybe like a little churchy, but I'm trying to make it real for people.
Right.
And for me, Jesus is how I want my spirit to be in the earth. Like, I want to see somebody caught in an act of adultery and tell somebody back up off of them, and then turn to her like, girl, now what was you doing? Like, don't do that no more.
Right.
You better than this. You know what I mean? Like, I want to walk up on somebody, and a Sumerian woman who I'm not supposed to be in conversation with, and say, I'm willing to break the rules to go and talk to you. Like, I want someone to be connected to me and feel like, oh my gosh, I just pulled power from you. Like the woman with the issue of blood. Like, I want to empower people to go out and be the good that we want to see in the earth. And Jesus does that time and time again throughout scripture. And so that's why I love him. That's why I'm in relationship with him. And that's why I'm constantly like trying to check myself to see how I can grow and stretch.
And I love that. And I think that also speaks to, like, when you say you describe yourself as a modern woman of faith, like, that's kind of what that encapsulates. When you describe yourself as a modern woman of faith, this is what that looks like, what you just explained to us.
I hope so. I mean, I think what hopefully makes me a modern woman in faith is that, like, as I am learning more, I'm sharing more, which means that I don't feel stuck in one definition of who I have to be. I think I give myself the ability to have fluidity on this journey. And I feel like faith has been so rigid in the past that once you are something, you have to stay that way forever. Right. And I think that's why a lot of people shy away from it, because it's like, listen, I don't know who I'm going to be in 10 years. And if I got to promise that I'm going to be this person in 10 years, like, I would rather save you the disappointment and just figure this thing out on my own. But I pray that what makes me a modern woman in faith is that I give myself space to say, this is what I know to be true today, but I'm willing to lay that truth down at the feet of my relationship with Jesus. I'm willing to lay this truth down in worship and through humility and relationship with other people, and to receive a new truth that I'm yet being transformed, and I'm yet being changed. I'm yet evolving.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm evolving.
And
I'm willing to reintroduce myself over and over and over again so that you get to experience who I am now.
Yeah.
I love that. You embody evolving and being able to see that evolving is actually, to evolve means that you have to go through it all. It can't be just the good parts. Yeah. And I love that you're freeing people like me, and I'm sure a whole bunch of other people, to be able to come back and you know, be able to sit with the Word of God, and also do it with love and correction. Like, I like loving correction. I like what you just did. Like, girl, why was you in that man's face? Like, you know, sit down. Sit down.
Sit down.
Girl,
not get
girl,
up.
right, girl, sit down. You know? But speaking of girl, sit down, I do want to know, like, what exactly rest looks like for you, though. Like, how are we defining rest? What does that look like?
Well, I love going to bed. So, like, there is just that there is just this straight go literally to bed. I love being in the bed all day, like watching TV, binge watching. So, like, I love being in the bed and sleeping, and then just staying in the bed once I awake. I love sitting outside. Like, as soon as the weather acts like it's going to be even a little bit nice, I'm outside. There's something about fresh air. There's something about nature that really feeds me. If I have checked those boxes, then I like cooking. Cooking is restful for me, which I know is not everyone's testimony.
Absolutely not.
But I have decided it is control, because like I can see all of these ingredients that look like they could never turn into anything become something so flavorful, so delicious, something that brings people joy in one sitting. Everything else I'm working on, like, Lord, it might be 6 months before I see if this thing worked out. Right. But at least with cooking, like, I get an immediate answer. I'm introverted by nature, so I love being at home with my family and my kids. My 7-year-old and my other kids they're grown now. They're trying to leave me, but I have a 7-year-old and a 14-year-old, and they're trying. They're trying.
It's crazy.
But I love them. My 7-year-old and 14-year-old, they're so spicy and crazy. So yeah, that's it. They bring me rest.
That's nice.
I'm happy. I'm happy for resting. I love to rest. We all love to rest.
We love to rest. And I'm so.
But do you get antsy? Do you get like antsy when you rest? Because I will never get an ants. There's never an ants or E. I can lay down forever.
An answer.
I do get a little antsy. Like, I have had such a jam-packed year that, like, when I didn't have a project on, I was like, I have anxiety about not having anything to have anxiety about. So I do need to, like, break the rhythm. We're going on an 8-day vacation, and I am worried that by, like, day 4, I'm going to be like,
too much rest.
We need to go.
Too much
we
rest.
Need to go. We need to go. But I'm already going into vacation like, you have to be a different person. Like, you are going to learn to live in Mexico. Like, you're not going to vacate. You're learning to live. So, like, I'm hoping that we're not coming home early. I won't do it.
You better
Set
not.
the intention.
Now we're going to be like, Sarah, you better still be in Mexico. Just random tweet. But no, I think, you know, one of the main reasons we definitely also wanted to have you on this show is, I think, something as far as our purposes, whether it's this podcast and your ministry share, is speaking to Black women first. And, you know, one of the ways we always like to close is with a few words of affirmation, to giving our listeners a few words of affirmation that have held, whether it's something that's held us over for the past week or just something we want to share from our experiences. And I was wondering, like, if you could perhaps bless us and bless our listeners with an affirmation before we let you go.
Because your affirmations have been, are before I let
We've
you
quoted
go.
you
like
a few times.
We've quoted you a few times.
I think things that are helping me right now as far as affirmations are, I am worthy of rest. I am capable of walking in divinity. I am powerful in my most raw state. I am just getting started. And another one that's really helping me, I'm going to live a long life. I'm going to live a long life. That's really helping me because I think because when I was pregnant with my son at 13, the doctors thought I would die giving birth to him. And so I've always lived with like this fear of death. And I have like really just been constantly like, I am going to live a long life. I am worthy of rest. I don't have to cram everything into this moment because I have time. Yeah. And I'm not going to miss it. I'm not going to miss what God has for me in this moment in pursuit of the next moment.
Ooh.
I don't know if that fits the bill, but those are the things that are helping me.
Of course it does, especially that last part, because I think it's so hard to, when it's your moment, like when it's like you've been elevated to this new level that you never saw yourself in, to feel like, I got to do everything. I got to rush it. I don't know how much time I'm going to have. I don't know how long I'm going to have this attention, this stage, this whatever. I got to make the most of my 10 minutes. And I love that you're saying, like, I can take my time with this. I'm going to live a long life. Like, I can trust, even earlier in the episode, you're like, I can trust God that he's seeing me here and he'll keep the pace going.
Seeing me through.
That's that part of I am worthy of rest, because I think when you do get into that mentality, it's a lack mentality. And we are seeing opportunities slip through our hands, like even opportunities that haven't even come into our lives. We're like, if I don't hustle, if I don't show up, then I could miss something. And I really do believe that that's what keeps me from experiencing rest. And so being able to say, like, I am worthy of having rest. Like, I've worked really hard this year. And yes, there's still 18,000 things that I could be doing, but right now my body needs rest. I need to feel what's happening in my soul. I need to balance my nervous system. Yes. Like, I am worthy of getting back to neutral before going full throttle again.
Phew, that's amazing. That's great. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us on the show this week. Thank you. Just thank you all together. I think you have really, and I can speak for Sylvia as well, you've really helped with how we've moved and been able to put one foot in front of the other this year, especially for me. So I want to say thank you. Please keep freeing, because you will continue to do this and be able to free so many other Black women to be able to speak and not be able to suffer in silence the ways that our grandmothers have, the ways that our great aunts have. I have seen so many people go into the next life without being able to voice what exactly was on their heart. So be able, for me to see your heart when you speak, tells me that I can also speak from my heart and do everything through a labor of love. So I appreciate you so much for coming on the show.
Yes, you are so important.
You. And truly love you. Like,
down.
Love.
Even more after this conversation. Like,
down.
It's
to
like
the socks.
You're amazing. You're so important. Thank you for being you.
Truly.
I hope we can pour into you, because we have to give you that moment, because literally every Sunday you doing that to us. So just really had to take
so
the time.
how can we keep up with you? Do you have anything? Yeah. Tell me.
Well, I'm on Instagram. I'm a TikToker. I'm a content creator. I'm entering my influencer era. So if you want to see me fail and get back up again on TikTok, you can do that there. But I've got all kinds of things in 2024 conference. I got a book coming out, but right now, just watch me rest.
Watch me rest. We're excited to let you rest, girl. You deserve it. Because that's also when you get the ideas for what's next, what you're going to do. So,
for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
So, in the meantime, make sure you keep up with the show online using the hashtag Scottie and Sylvia Show, because I know y'all going to run it up on Twitter with the quotes, child.
Please, yes.
I know. And we're going to see them all. Yes.
And make sure you come back for more of the Scottie and Sylvia Show, because we do it all for you.
For you.
It's Sarah Jakes was here. Can't tell us nothing.